After so much pressure from Tony and Cynthia, Mercy felt trapped. She didn't want to join the cult, but she was afraid of losing Tony's money and Cynthia's approval. Eventually, the pressure got to her and she gave in. The day she was initiated, Mercy had to swear an oath never to reveal the secret of the cult. They told her that the group would give her power, protection, and endless money. Mercy felt a strange mix of excitement and fear, but deep down, she had no idea just how dark things were about to get. Once Mercy became a part of the cult, she changed completely. She wasn't the quiet, sweet girl from her father's home anymore. She became bolder, even wilder than Cynthia. Mercy would party all night, returning to her apartment only when the sun began to rise. She became regular at the campus clubs, known for dancing without a care, making sure all eyes were on her. She always had a cigarette between her fingers, puffing out smoke like she was in control of the world. But it didn't stop there. Mercy began using strong substances like pills and powders that made her feel invincible. They made her stay alert and fearless, like she could do anything without thinking twice. The crime started small but grew quickly. Mercy and her friends became what some call campus runs girls. They would lure wealthy men into paying for special services. They became experts at scamming these men, stealing their wallets, jewelries, or even taking their cars for a joyride, while the men were too drunk to notice. And when those men threatened to report them, the cult made sure they stayed silent. Mercy knew her way around the university's dark side. She would sneak into professors' offices with her crew to change grades for the right price, or escort new girls to meeting with rich men, promising them easy money. She started seeing herself as a boss, someone untouchable. She looked at those new girls like they were clueless, like she was showing them the real way to live the university life. She would say things like, "Look, if you want to make it here, you have to play smart. Why stress over books when money is all you need?" Without her father's knowledge, Mercy had become the very thing he feared. She would return home during holidays wearing her innocent smile, pretending to be the perfect daughter. Her father would pray with her, and she would say amen with a straight face, hiding the guilt that crept in her heart. But as soon as she went back to school, she returned to the wild life. Amidst all this, she started to feel insecure in her own body. Although she had always been beautiful, she felt overshadowed whenever she was with Cynthia. Cynthia's curvy shape and perfect figure always caught people's eyes, especially the attention of men. Wherever they went, it was like all eyes were on Cynthia, and Mercy felt invisible next to her. She wished she had that kind of power to walk into a room and have people notice her instantly. One day, Mercy and Cynthia were having a casual chat when she couldn't hold back her thoughts. "I wish I had your body," Mercy sighed, staring herself in the mirror. Cynthia smiled. "You can have my type of body, you know. I wasn't born like this. I did a BBL, a Brazilian butt lift. It's the trend now, especially in this city. Almost every girl is doing it. If you want all men locking around you, just get your body done." Mercy's eyes widened in surprise. "You mean surgery?" she asked, still finding the idea hard to believe. Cynthia nodded. "Yes, girl. It's no big deal. The results are worth it. You just need the money. And if you ask Tony, he can sponsor it for you. He already likes you a lot." At first, Mercy was unsure. Surgery, it sounded so extreme and risky. But the more she thought about it, the more she desired the kind of attention that Cynthia received every day. After a few weeks of feeling insecure, she finally decided to bring it up to Tony. One evening, while they were having dinner, she gathered the courage and said, "I want to do a BBL." Tony looked at her curiously. "Do what?" "A BBL like Cynthia," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Tony's face lightened up. "I like that. You will look even more stunning. Don't worry about the money. I will take care of it." With Tony's support, Mercy went through the surgery, and when she came back to the campus, she felt like a new person. Her new curves made her the talk of the university, and boys who never paid her any attention before now couldn't take their eyes off her. Mercy loved the attention. It made her feel powerful and confident. With all the attention, Mercy slowly lost sight of everything she used to care about. She forgot her upbringing, her father's teaching, and even her studies. She was wrapped up in the fast life, always seeking more admiration and gifts. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was always someone prettier or more popular. The power and attention had gotten into her head, making her crave more, even if it meant taking greater risks. But deep down, Mercy was feeling more trapped than ever. She was in a world where nothing was ever enough. No amount of money, beauty, or power could satisfy her. And she couldn't tell anyone about the emptiness inside. She didn't know that the choices she made would soon lead to a series of events that she would never be able to control. As Mercy continued her wild lifestyle, she began to notice something disturbing about her body. At first, it was just a slight pain in her lower back, which she tried to ignore. She brushed it off, thinking it was just from all the late night out, or maybe she had pulled a muscle while dancing at one of the parties. But soon, the pain grew worse. One morning, as she tried to get out of bed, a sharp ache shot through her lower body, making her collapse back onto the mattress. Mercy panicked, but kept it to herself. She didn't want Cynthia or Tony to think she was weak. She hid the pain behind forced smiles, doubling up on painkillers to get through her days. But no amount of pills could stop what was happening. Then one night, something more horrifying happened. As she got up from the bed, she noticed a wet stain left behind on the mattress. Mercy's heart pounded in her chest as she quickly cleaned up. She rushed to the bathroom, her hands shaking as she locked the door behind her. She pulled up her dress and saw a horrible sight. Her skin was red, swollen, and oozing pus from the areas where she had the BBL. A foul smell hit her nose, making her gag. Mercy stared at herself in the mirror, horrified. This was no longer a minor issue. Something was seriously wrong. The pain was unbearable. Her once confident strut has turned into a limp. She struggled to keep herself together, hiding her condition from Tony. When Tony learned about Cynthia's condition, he grew distant, barely answering her calls, and Mercy knew she was losing him. As her condition worsened, she could no longer hide it from the people around her. She started avoiding parties and club nights, knowing that the smell would give her away. But the rumors spread quickly. The same girls who used to admire her began to whisper behind her back, calling her the girl who stinks. Her phone calls to Cynthia went unanswered, and soon she was sitting alone in her apartment, surrounded by pain and regrets. Mercy's world fell apart. The friends she once had, the attention she craved, all vanished overnight. No one wanted to be around her anymore. She would sit alone on her bed, crying herself to sleep, praying that this nightmare would end. She felt trapped inside her own body, the same body she had changed so drastically in her desperate search for power and beauty. Every time she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror, she saw not the confident girl she once pretended to be, but a broken version of herself. Desperate for help, she tried reaching out to the doctor who had performed the surgery, but he was nowhere to be found. He had vanished, leaving her to deal with the consequences. The truth was harsh. The doctor had used unsterilized tools, and now Mercy was paying the price. Her infection was getting worse by the day, and she couldn't afford proper medical care. The small fortune she had made from her wild lifestyle was long gone, spent on expensive parties, clothes, and the temporary thrill of living like a queen. One evening, alone and defeated, Mercy collapsed on her floor, sobbing uncontrollably. The pain in her body was like a fire burning through her, but the pain in her heart was even worse. She remembered her father's gentle words, his hope for her to become a medical doctor, and the warmth of her home that now felt like a distant memory. She whispered through her tears, "God, please, I know I have wronged you, but if you are still there, give me one more chance." For the first time in years, she fell on her knees and prayed, pleading for mercy. She prayed for a way out of the darkness she had buried herself in. She prayed for the courage to face her father, to tell him the truth and hope that he wouldn't turn his back on her. When she finally gathered the strength to call her father, she could barely get her words out. Her father picked up the phone, his voice as warm and steady as she remembered. "Mercy, is everything all right, my dear?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. The words caught in her throat, but she forced them out. "Dad, I've failed you. I've ruined my life. And now I don't know what to do. Please help me." Pastor Elijah was silent for a moment, and she could hear the deep breath he took. "Where are you, Mercy? I will come right away." When he arrived at her apartment, the sight of his once vibrant daughter brought tears to his eyes. Her swollen face, the pain on her, it almost broke him. He wrapped her in his arms, feeling the weight of all the years she had been gone. "Why, Mercy? Why did you keep all this from me?" he whispered, his voice trembling. Mercy broke down, unable to hold back her regrets anymore. "I was ashamed, Dad. I thought you would never forgive me. I thought I could handle it on my own. But I was wrong. So wrong." Pastor Elijah held her tighter, his own tears mingling with hers. He struggled with the urge to push her away, feeling the anger and disappointment burning inside him. But the soft spot he had for her, his little girl, held him back. He decided he couldn't give up on her, not when she was finally reaching out for help. He brought Mercy back home to nurse her. The news spread among the church, and people who respected Pastor Elijah for his good deeds and honesty came forward to help. A few kind-hearted church members even volunteered to sponsor Mercy's medical treatment abroad. The day she was flown out for surgery, Pastor Elijah prayed fervently for a miracle. He has done his best to save his daughter from the darkness she had fallen into. But now, it was in God's hand. Weeks later, after several surgeries and long nights in a hospital bed, Mercy woke up to find herself looking healthier. Her wounds were healing, her body slowly getting back to normal. But the real change was in her heart. She realized how far she had strayed and how much she had taken for granted. By the time she returned to Nigeria, Mercy was a different person. She was no longer seeking power or attention. She just wanted to make amends. She dedicated her life telling her story to others, going from high school to universities, warning young girls about the dangers of falling into the wrong company. She spoke about the pain of chasing after empty things, about the lies of easy money and quick beauty. Through her, many girls turned away from the path they had begun to follow, and even the boys who heard her story were touched. Mercy had finally found a purpose, one that brought real meaning to her life. Her father stood by her side as she spoke to a group of students one day, watching the fire and determination in her eyes. He saw a glimmer of the little girl he had raised, but now she was stronger and wiser. He squeezed her hand and whispered, "You have made me proud, Mercy." And in that moment, Mercy knew that despite everything, she had been given the chance to start over.